After sexual abuse that spanned decades, Larry Nassar finally received his prison sentence Wednesday. But how did years of assault go unpunished as long as it did? In August of 2016, a team of reporters from the Indianapolis Star published accounts from gymnasts who accused Nassar of sexually abusing them during supposed medical procedures. In court Wednesday, the state's assistant attorney general praised the reporters' efforts.
It shouldn't take investigative journalists to expose predators. But thank God we had these journalists.
Marisa Kwiatkowski is an investigative reporter for the Indianapolis Star and was part of the team that broke this story. She joins me now. Marisa, what initially sparked your team's investigation into USA Gymnastics?
I was working on an investigation into failures to report sexual abuse in schools. We'd had a number of cases here in Indiana where that had occurred. And as I was working on a story about why that was so common, why it seemed to keep happening, I had a source suggest looking into USA Gymnastics. And the source pointed me toward a lawsuit in Georgia that was happening, and it was involving a coach who had gone from gym to gym over a number of years despite warning signs about his conduct.
Well, Rachel Denhollander was the first to publicly accuse Larry Nassar of sexual abuse, and we saw her testify in court on Wednesday. How did your team first get in contact with Rachel?
The first part of our Out of Balance series published on August 4th of 2016, and that very same day Rachel reached out to us and she told us that the investigation that we'd published had given her hope that maybe she would be believed, and she told us that she hadn't come forward with allegations about Larry before because he had been such a beloved member of the sports community. So she felt like she could speak to us about it and maybe some change might happen.
Oftentimes there is such a profound sense of shame that survivors of abuse carry around with them. How difficult was it for you to get these survivors to speak on the record about their experiences?
Mark, Alicia, Tim Evans and I, my colleagues and I, we spent a lot of time working with the survivors and talking to them about what we were working on, why we wanted to share their stories, and how we were going to use the information that we received. And we continue to keep them involved in the process, letting them know when the story about their experience might be coming out, to really make them comfortable and feel that they had the control over their own story and their own experiences. And I think that for us, that really helped give them a level of comfort to share what they had gone through.
As you were going through this investigation, Marisa, at what point in your reporting did you fully begin to realize the scope of the abuse that had taken place within USA Gymnastics?
So we knew pretty early on that USA Gymnastics executives had had for years a policy of not reporting all allegations to police, and that policy could put children at risk with coaches who might move from gym to gym despite warning signs. And so we knew from the beginning what that policy was, and we spent the next few months looking into how often that policy had come into play. And we found a number of examples in that early reporting, but nothing of the scope of what we found with Larry Nassar.
Well, what were the biggest obstacles that you encountered while reporting on this story?
Just the scope of the reporting that Mark and Tim and I were doing, because we work for the Indianapolis Star. Most of our coverage tends to be local or statewide coverage, and at this point we were trying to dig into the backgrounds of hundreds of coaches from all over the country. So we spent a lot of time requesting and fighting for records that were everywhere. We flew to more than a dozen states to try and interview survivors and try and get interviews with perpetrators as well. So it was a huge effort, and that scope took a lot of time.
Well, for people who are maybe just hearing about this story now, they may only be familiar with Larry Nassar as the face of this particular scandal. What should those people know about this story that may not make the front page?
This story is bigger than Larry Nassar. Larry Nassar is one person, but he is not the only person. And this is not a problem that is exclusive to gymnastics either. And for us, our investigation really focused on looking at the entirety of the system. So the failures to report that were happening at the local gym level, and the children who were trying to, even in some cases, tell their parents and weren't being believed, and moving that all the way up into USA Gymnastics and the USOC and what information they may have had.
It's tremendously important reporting that you've done, you and your colleagues here at the Indianapolis Star. Marisa Kwiatkowski from the Indianapolis Star, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.